And clear of the closing doors, please.
Hey, baby, let's go out there like a bunch of crazy dogs and have some fun. You gotta give us a shot. You know what? You gotta give us a shot.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Giants Report. That's right, The Giants Report. This is our second stream on the YouTube. Yes, I say the YouTube because you know what? I don't know. I'm embracing my boomer role. So
the YouTube machine. We said it last week.
YouTube machine?
Yeah, the YouTube machine.
The YouTube machine. Okay. I like that.
Huh.
How you doing, Murph?
I'm pretty good. It's only like I was telling CG before you're logged on. It's only Tuesday, but it's been a long week. Yankees have made some good trades, a questionable trade, and Danny Jones had a good day today. So I'm good, man. I guess I'm good. We're a week closer to football, right?
Are we starting off with the baseball talk or what?
Well, I mean, this time last week when we recorded, the Yankees were winning 2-0 against the Mets, and then, I talked all my shit, and then you swept our ass. But, I guess we get the last laugh today because we made all the trades, and you guys are fucking trading for dudes making $30,000 down in single A, double A. So.
Chess, not checkers, Murph.
Sure. Probably. You're probably right.
You
usually are.
I'm doing okay. Nothing much going on this week, just following training camp. I'm trying to potty train my 4-year-old, which has been almost let's just put it this way, it's been a little challenging. But other than that, things are great. Less than 40 days now to September and the first game. I can't wait.
Oh, first game is this Thursday.
No, I mean regular season. But
I know, but I mean we get football though.
That's
So we have football or NFL football because, again, I mean, we would be dismissive of the what the hell that was? Oh, yeah, the USFL. And, but we get NFL football starting this Thursday until February. So that is definitely good. So football's back. So let's start off then. So last time that we started, there was nobody in pad yet. Giants had just reported first practice was Wednesday. Well, today was the 6th practice, I believe. I'm going with that anyway.
Yeah, it was 6th practice.
Today was the 6th practice. We got pads. We got to see some of these different players, some of these lines, some of the new concepts, what this regime wants to do. What are your thoughts from training camp so far, CG?
Well, it's been great. I mean, there's definitely a couple of players who have come through early. I mean, first name that comes to mind is Darnay Holmes. He's had a really good first week. He had 3 interceptions last week, pick 6, and a forced fumble on Barkley. He seemed to be all over the place since, we have that second cornerback position, which is for the taking behind Adoree Jackson. It's good to see someone standing up and trying to put themselves in that position. He's one player that I thought had a great week last week. Richie James, actually, looking for a spot. He's probably going to be our kick returner, punt returner. He had some good reps. He had one play in particular I remember where he totally deked out the cornerback and was able to separate and score, I think, if I remember correctly. Kayvon Thibodeau's also had a really good week. Andrew Thomas held his own against him, which is also good. You want to see that from your offensive line. Xavier McKinney seems to be taking on more of a leadership role. He has the green dot, the lead. Martindale wants him to take more of an active role this season, which is important. So, the first week, a lot of impressive play on both sides of the ball. Kadarius Toney's another guy who I felt had a really good week. Some fights, as you always have in training camp.
I mean,
talk about them later, but You know,
hold on. I mean, you talked about everything. There's nothing left for me or Murph to discuss. So you gotta slow down, CG. Give us some thoughts, man. Don't give us the entire rundown.
I have a lot of thoughts. I'll try to condense.
I know, but I mean, Darnay Holmes was the one thing I wanted to talk about. You already covered it. You talked about the fights. You talked about everything from the first week. There's nothing left to talk about. Let's just. I mean,
all right. I'm going to shut up now.
You want to add Murph before? I mean,
yeah, actually, I do. He didn't take my topic, so
I had to cut him off before he did.
Yo, Slap Jackson.
What's up, Tap?
Tappy tap.
Actually, yeah, the center position. That's what I wanted to talk about. That was one of my pieces. But yeah, CG just pretty much finished the episode, so I think we're done.
See ya.
Yeah, let's try to say. I know that we have a tendency to go a little bit, out of order here, but so I got the center position for later on. You want to talk about it now, then, Murph, or you want?
No, I was just being a smart ass. He didn't say my one topic. Everything else though.
Yeah, I'm gonna give CG credit where credit's due. So CG does a phenomenal job. Everything that you guys see thus far, CG is behind the wheels on the StreamYard. He's the one pulling up the comments here. He's the one doing everything. That dope new intro that you guys saw or haven't seen yet, that's CG behind that as well. He prepares a lot of stuff for us. CG is the man behind the curtain. He does a lot of great stuff for us. So he's fully prepared, unlike probably me and Murph. So he's ready to go. So I just got to reel him back in from time to time. So I'm sure he has a book there. You want to show us your notes, CG? And no. See, what I tell you guys? I told you.
He was a little testy. He was a little testy to relate, Mage. He's itching to talk Giants. So
I love you guys. I love you, Mage. I'm just, got to prepare.
Let me say what's up to a few people. TJ is in the chat. TJ. Last week I kept saying Taj. I thought it was another follower of ours, but it's not. It is my boy TJ. TJ is in the chat, representing Canadians everywhere. Pana, what's up, Pana? Tap, as always, love Tap. Love seeing him here. So, all right, before we go anywhere else, let's talk about thoughts from today's practices. Murph, I'm going to go to you. We'll save CG for last here. So, give us a thought or two from today's practices.
Well, I mean, it sounds like Danny had a lot better day than he did yesterday, and that was the main talking point of today. And to be completely honest with you, that was the only thing I really paid attention to today. Sounds like Danny had the best practice of, I guess, what'd you say, 6 practices yet so far? 2 balls on the ground. Pat Leonard had to make sure he took a little dig in there and said there's only 2. What do you say? Limited balls on the ground. So basically giving the receivers credit, not Danny credit. Shocker. But yeah, man, I mean, I'm not buying too much into these practices. I mean, obviously we know there's been some quotes out there from coach saying that they're taking shots downfield to test the corners and things like that. So again, we have no idea what's going on like down there from a conversation standpoint. So I'm chilling, dude. Chilling. Not excited, not mad, nothing to really report from camp. Obviously it's all going to be about Danny. I mean, it sucks that it has to be that way, but like anywhere you go, it's Danny.
That's what it seems
I will tell you one thing that I was impressed with, though, today, too, is that who caught the interceptions in practice today?
Adoree Jackson.
Right. Somebody that we were worried about, right? Because he's always in the play, but never really had a lot of interceptions over the course of his career. Kind of a lot of passes defended, et cetera, but not really a turnover machine. I was impressed to see that the 2 interceptions today came from Adoree. CG touched on Darnay Holmes. Darnay Holmes was somebody that I really wanted to see a lot. We talked about this in the past. We talked about it on Clapback as well, is that Darnay Holmes played outside. He played boundary corner at UCLA. It's not that he can't do it. In the NFL, he's probably better for the slot position, but I love seeing that aggressiveness out of Darnay. And then Adoree Jackson today coming out big with the 2 interceptions. That was huge, guys. Honestly, for a guy that's supposed to step up to be our quarterback one, somebody that we were concerned about not having that ability to create turnovers, that's fine. I'm okay. I know people are freaking out about practices, but you know what? It's a good thing. What if Danny was tearing up this defense and our defense wasn't creating any turnovers? We'd be worried. At least I would. My biggest concern coming into the season was the Giants secondary. Do we have enough depth? Do we have some guys there? I know we're going to get to the injury report, but it really was a concern for us. So I like seeing the aggressiveness out of the defense. I like seeing Darnay Holmes jump that route in the flat, take it to the house. Adoree Jackson today had a pick six that would have went to the house. I'm encouraged by those things. What about you, CJ?
Well, there's a lot of people on Twitter, a lot of people in the professional media who seem to live and die by every pass that Daniel Jones throws. And it's practice. It's the preseason. We're in week 2. We had one padded practice to this point. And I don't want to steal your thunder, so I won't really get into it. But even Dable said last week that some of the evaluation that has taken place isn't exactly on Daniel Jones. It's on the other players. So some passes may not be, Daniel Jones passes that he wanted to throw. Now, granted,
talk about it.
We'll talk about that later. But today, they were practicing 3rd and 10s. He went 14 for 18, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 1 interception late, which was they were doing a red zone. My thing is that we're not going to know how this Daniel Jones story ends until a few months from now. You want to see progression. You want to see the offense as a whole progress. But I think this fan base, this media, I think they're in a point right now where anything negative that happens with Daniel Jones, it's just going to be amplified. So my take, way I'm looking at it, way CGF is looking at right now, is let's see what happens between now and the bye week in November 1st. And I've said this several times on Twitter. Giants need to be, in my mind, 4-4 or better to have any legitimate shot, not just for this season, but for Daniel Jones to be even franchise tagged at the end of this year. Because if he's any worse, even if he puts up good numbers, they're not going to want to bring him back. There's already half the fan base that's calling for blood. So let's see what happens. Let's see how the rest of training camp goes. Let's continue to go forward without any injuries. And let's see how things look a little bit down the line.
All right. So anything else stood out from today's practice for you guys before we move on?
David Sills. A lot of catches today. I think if I remember correctly, I think he had 5 catches today. Him and Daniel Jones have always had a close relationship. It'll be interesting to see if he somehow crack the wide receiver depth chart. He's got a big hill to climb up, but hey, he had a good practice today.
A lot of wide receiver
workout
rotation.
videos.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of wide receiver rotation. A lot of dudes getting reps with the ones. Richie James, Slayton. I think I saw Colin Johnson get one the other day. So they're definitely giving everybody an opportunity, which is good because, we did question our wide receiver core. You want to talk about Golly later, obviously, but yeah, Dable's giving a lot of people opportunity. That's for sure. I love it.
There was also a visit today from a 2-time Super Bowl winner, champion, and MVP, Eli Manning.
Oh, Tom Brady's dad showed up?
So Eli Manning did pay a visit to the Giants facility today, although he works for them. Why is he not in the office generally, right? People should just be able to go up and talk to him. But so Eli stopped by. He gave them a little conversation about, and the topic around his speech was pretty much just getting better every practice, right? Learning from the mistakes. That was something that Eli highlighted twice in his speech, was learn from the mistakes. You make the mistakes here, learn from them. So that was definitely something that I took away. I don't think much else from today's practice, pretty much. But by the way, Murph, Tap says that you look extra handsome today.
Thanks, Tappy Tap. Is Rich isn't in here, is he?
No, I don't think so. Rich, if he is, he could be watching, but he's just might be lurking, and we wouldn't know. All right, so let's move on to a tweet that came out from Art Stapleton yesterday. Let's see. CG probably has the notes.
You're talking about the 3-4 tweet, right?
Yeah. Do you have who that lineup was? Go ahead.
Yeah. So the lineup for the 3-4 as it stands right now, these are the players that the Giants are placing, and this can of course change as we go through camp. You got Leonard Williams on the end. You got Lawrence. Jalen Holmes, who's also been playing on the end. I don't know much about him. Kayvon Thibodeau.
I just don't see that.
I don't see that. I don't see him making the team. I mean, maybe
Jalen Holmes starting over Azeez Ojulari. If anything, I can see this being one rotation. I kind of tweeted that out last night. Mm-hmm. And then I'll save my point for after you go through the rest of that lineup.
Okay. It was Jihad Ward, and then you have Blake, Tay, Crowder, Dory, and Aaron Robinson, and McKinney and Love as for the safeties.
Did you say Thibodeau at the other outside position?
Yeah.
Okay. So here's and I'm glad that Tap's in here because Tap kind of brought up this point last night, which was good. So I had tweeted out that I can certainly see this being one rotation, right? Not necessarily the starting lineup. The one thing that the Giants have on defense this year, which seems to be a little bit deeper than other years, is depth at each of these positions. Secondary is probably the weakest, but I still think that we're pretty good there in terms of some rotational guys. So if you guys remember a couple years ago, there were players like Landon Collins, Leonard Williams, guys that were getting over 90% snap shares. And it was so high, it was ridiculous. This is why we blew games in the fourth quarter too, because not only did we fail to make adjustments, but these players were tired. They were exhausted. So the one thing that they thought about by seeing Art Stapleton's tweet was, I don't think we're going to have many guys over 90% snap counts. So why did I mention Tab Jackson? Because Tab Jackson brought up a good point yesterday. He said, I wonder what Baltimore's defense looked like the last 2 years. So it just so happens that I went back to look. Baltimore had 3 guys over 90% snap count.
Can I guess them?
Huh?
Can I guess who they are?
Absolutely, go ahead.
One's got to be Humphreys.
Yes.
One's got to be... I guess it's not Bowser.
Nope.
They had what's his name? DN.
Campbell? I will tell you this. It is
Campbell.
Nobody from this front 7. It is secondary entirely.
Really?
So
it's Tony Jefferson in there.
Deshaun Elliott played 97.9.
Right. Yeah.
Chuck Clark 99.72. Marlon Humphrey 91.2. And then if you just want to go with who was the 4th highest, it was Marcus Peters, 85.49. All right. The next highest player snap share on the team was Patrick Queen at 80%. Do you know who the next highest was after Patrick Queen? Matt Judon at 52.9. This was 2020. So a guy like Matt Judon was only playing 52% of his snaps on defense. That's crazy.
You think of the defense.
Just fresh legs, man. Fresh legs.
Yeah,
right off that edge. Got that man paid in fucking New England.
Kind of my point. So now if we go back and we look at last year, defense, Chuck Clark, again, 94%. He was the only player over 90% last year. All right. So then the next highest was, just bear with me because I'm looking at this as we go, was Bowser, 76%, followed by Patrick Queen with 75%. All right. Next highest after that was cornerback Anthony Everett, and then Brandon Stevens for
Who the hell are
68%.
they?
But the front seven, though, is pretty much around 50% or less. I guess, obviously aside from what looks like Patrick Queen, the middle linebacker at that position.
So we're going to have like a front 14.
Yeah, heavy rotation. You're right, TJ. So, I mean, this team's going to be fresh. There's no way that we should be gassed in the fourth quarter. And you know what? I like it because as much as Wink Martindale likes to blitz, you got to keep guys fresh.
Yeah.
You got to keep them fresh.
It lines right up, right? I mean,
what about I'm not asking you to look this up now, but what about the Giants snap counts for the defense last year? I have a feeling that Judge played certain players and didn't play others. I could be wrong, but I don't think there was as much of a rotation as that.
We didn't have any bodies, dude.
You keep the conversation going. I'll look it up.
We had absolutely no
because
one, so it won't surprise me.
I just get the sense with Judge last season that he had his favorites, and if you got into his quote unquote doghouse, that you weren't going to see the field as much. And I had that feeling with Ximenez. I know Ximenez got hurt a little bit. He's another guy who's had a pretty good camp to this point. But I actually have a feeling, and you could correct me, I might be wrong, totally wrong on this, but I actually feel that there was less of a rotation. And I know that was one of the Coughlin issues back in the day, was that Coughlin did not like to play the young guys. He was more of a, he would play certain people and other guys would be sitting on the sideline.
Let's talk about that. Go back to that tweet, though, that we started this on.
You can also highlight that comment by Pound CG.
Which one? Oh, okay, sorry.
Last comment there, too.
Yep. I just think that the fan base is going to have to get adjusted to this new type of defense, because we're not going to be doing this bend but don't break 14 play drives anymore. We could have a couple of long bombs given up. So, I mean, that comes with the territory. There's going to be, I know we talked about last week about sacks. Are the Giants going to break the season sack record? I don't think they're going to. I think they're going to be in the 50s for a team. But, I think people need to understand there's going to be a lot more over the last couple of years. We haven't seen, in the Graham defense, a lot of over-the-top touchdowns. And I think we may see a few more this year. So
James Bradbury led last year with 99.14. Xavier McKinney with 96.92. Tay Crowder, 93.93%. Logan Ryan, 85. Leonard Williams, 76. Just rounding here at this point.
Yeah.
Adoree Jackson, 70. Aziz, 67. Dexter Lawrence, 65. Austin Johnson, 56. A little bit higher than what Baltimore did in terms of their rotation.
Yeah.
But I not that bad, though. I expect it to be a little bit higher. So.
I wasn't sure. I mean, I was just based on what I've seen the last couple of years.
Yeah, well, we also saw the rotations last year, though, too, with Quincy Roche coming in on certain plays, Aziz, some of those players rotating, Austin Johnson. So, but, no, it's a good point. It's a good thing to look at.
So what? So
talk CB2 a little bit.
Well, yeah,
absolutely nothing but.
I mean, Aaron Robinson.
Say negative things, but not great things out of our boy A-Rob. I've heard absolutely nothing out of Rodarius.
Been very quiet. Robinson has been very quiet. And, he was my guy last week that I said that I felt was going to have a standout camp. It's been Darnay Holmes. It's been actually not Aaron Robinson to this point. He hasn't been in the doghouse to this point, but he hasn't also been shining as you want him to. You want him to grab the quote unquote brass ring and be able to take that CB2 position. So, but we also have 3 preseason games. I mean, practice is one thing. I want to see these guys perform against other teams in the actual game environment. So we'll see how it goes the next couple of weeks.
I haven't heard a lot either about Aaron Robinson, but the reports coming out of camp that I saw was that he was playing well.
Yeah,
Well,
he hasn't done anything negative.
He had a couple penalties. He got bitched out by coach because he hit Wando. And he got burned by Tony twice. That's all I'd really seen. But I like you said, CG, that was one of our guys that we expected to kind of take off this week. And it's weird because we still have a real big question there at that outside corner position too, especially the way Darnay's playing. It seems like Darnay's making most of his plays out of the slot. So that'll, in my opinion, probably be his home. But I mean, there's not that much competition for that CB2 position, right? I mean, I don't see Darnay playing out there, in my opinion. Darnay's a slot guy. I know he played a little boundary in college, and you said that earlier, Mage, but in my opinion, Darnay thrives in the slot. That's where he thrived in 2020.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's probably a good spot for Darnay.
The problem is,
man, I appreciate that.
Take care, Tap.
Bye, Tappy.
Yeah. Panna, thank you very much. I appreciate your comment as well.
Thank you, Panna.
Yeah, I see, but again, when we talk about the secondary, that's why it's a concern for me.
I mean,
there's not a whole lot of depth there. We haven't really gotten into the injuries yet. But there's already some injuries in the secondary as well. As far as SCB2 position, I'm sorry, it's got to be Aaron Robinson unless somebody else is going to step up. Cordell Flott, we haven't heard anything from. I don't think he's making any noise. Darnay Holmes, I mean, honestly, if you don't feel comfortable with Aaron Robinson at that CB2 position, I don't know. I wouldn't mind giving Darnay a shot at it as the boundary corner and see what he can do. I mean, is he probably better suited for the slot? Yeah, but now, I mean, it's probably a better acclimation for a guy like Cordell Flott to maybe move into the slot. You still got Rodarius Williams when he comes back that, played that a little bit of that. I think slot corner is probably an easier position for some of these guys to play than that boundary. But also, Murph, before CG goes, I forget, but I want to give you the credit for it. Last week we were having the conversation about McFadden versus Beavers. I was talking about the athleticism, thinking it was McFadden, but I was thinking about Beavers the entire time. So
yeah, you and I talked about this.
Yeah, so you were right. But I was completely off. I was seeing the film in my head, and I was recalling, and I'm like, oh, that's right, number 0, not 47. So,
and that's not to knock Mitch. Mitch is a good linebacker. He's just a downhill guy. He's literally Blake's clone,
no, you're right.
In my opinion.
Yeah, but you were talking about the athleticism for the position, the ability to cover. You're right. That definitely did fit Beavers more than McFadden. I just have my film mixed up, but I just wanted to give you credit on that. So,
thanks, Dad. Beavers got some reps with the ones today, with Blake in the middle. So, I mean, I can again, like, if you want to talk about him, he's going to be kind of that gadget guy on our defense, in my opinion. Kind of what we thought A-Robin was going to be, taking Pepper's position. I mean, I don't see obviously Beavers covering any wide receivers, but he can cover a tight end easily. Still a little big, but he's fast, man. And again, he's the only coverage guy on the roster. I don't see Tay Crowder starting there. I keep going back to that tweet that we started on, but like Tay's gonna play, but just like we said, like Wink's gonna have his stables, but I don't see Tay being the starter.
Tay played 93% last year, so
yeah, he did.
Look, again, we've talked about this back on Clapback, back when we had Tino, but give me Jalen Smith. Bring Jalen Smith back. I think Jalen Smith would eat in this defense. He's perfect. If I remember correctly, his coverage rates as a linebacker was much better than his tackling grade as a linebacker, which is probably what you can use in a Wink type of defense. He can play downhill, he can blitz, but he can still cover some of those bigger, faster tight ends from the linebacker position, which gives which gives Wink some versatility in this defense with his linebackers. So I agree, man. It's tough because I don't see Crowder starting. I don't know who that second middle linebacker is going to be.
I want to go back to corner though, because now I'm looking up free agent corners, and dude, Jimmy Smith's just chilling out there, man. I could totally see it happening. Late camp signing, 1 year vet minimum deal, Wink familiarity, CB2.
Well, here's my concern, and this is
Jimmy
the
Smith is
cornerback.
67 years old.
He's 34, yeah.
Here's the concern I have about our team in general, but this relates to the cornerbacks, is our depth. We talk a little bit about depth in regards to the tackles. We have a major issue with depth with our cornerbacks, because if one of these cornerbacks go down, we're screwed. And that was the big thing about letting go of Bradbury. I understand we needed to because of the cap, but we do have a significant question mark at that CB2 position. And Holmes, Robinson, whoever fills in, we're praying that they give us a replacement level for what Bradbury was giving us. And Bradbury, from what I've heard, looking at the Eagles blogs and the Eagles news reports, he seems to be doing okay. But obviously, we couldn't afford him because of our cap situation. But I think that's the one concern I really have in regards to our cornerbacks right now, is just our depth. Because you lose Adoree, you lose one of these players, one of these top three players, we're really in trouble.
Murph, nothing?
No, I mean, I agree. Sorry, the Yankees just hit a 3-run bomb. I'm trying to figure out who the hell this is. But yeah, no, I mean, obviously the cornerback position, it's always been cornerback, inside linebacker, and interior guard for me, or interior O-line for me. I mean, those three are worries. And still today, I mean, even after a week of camp, same thing. TJ said Smith probably has an injury. I mean, yeah, he's 34 too. That too. That's an old corner, honestly. But the familiarity is there. Trey Waynes is out there as well. I want to touch Kevin King with a 10-foot pole, but that's just me.
The question is, was he talking about Jalen Smith or Jimmy?
He's talking about Jalen Smith.
Oh, yeah.
Which that's another
he was talking about.
I mean, that's a really good point. I mean, if you look outside of Blake Martinez, we still, we have some young guys, but we still have some questions about our linebackers. How are they going to fit? How are these young guys going to perform? And I mean, there's a lot of positives, but there's also a lot of concerns too. And if we got to be honest, Giants fan, we have to say, there are some positions where there's a lot of question marks right now. I mean, you mentioned a little bit about the interior of the offensive line. Dable was talking today about trying to rotate guys in and out, and we did see that today. Ben Bredesen came in. I mean,
he started today.
Yeah, he started. Yeah, he was starting at center today, and then you've seen Lemieux, Feliciano's still on the side. We could talk more about obviously the offensive line in a bit, but that's one thing with this team, is that we're starting to build a roster, which is great. You're starting to get those pieces, those chess pieces, but we're still missing like the pawns. You're getting the rooks, you're getting the queen, you're getting the king. You still need those other players that are going to help round out the team. So,
and we have guys that we're like, that we're not familiar with. So we're wondering if there is a solution there, and we honestly have no idea, man. But like, dude, can we go to O-line talk? Are we good with that?
Before we do though, do you want to cover the injury report?
Yeah, we can talk. There's a couple injuries to talk about.
Because I mean, we have a script here, and Murph just keeps hijacking the show, wanting to jump around. Mister, I'm only going to give you 1 hour, but I'm trying to get through the script here. Trying to get through the script here.
This has been a great episode. Sometimes off script's the best. Isn't that how we were made?
I think a combination of both is good, but I'll give you guys a quick rundown of the injuries. Dane Belton, broken collarbone. He doesn't need surgery. They expect him to be back relatively soon, maybe by September. Feliciano still has heat exhaustion. He's been on the sideline, but he's missed 4 straight practices. Antonio Williams, our number 3 running back right now, had limped back out of the huddle from a play today. He is questionable at the moment. And then Robert Foster today was carted off the field. Haven't heard anything more about his injury status, but he's another depth guy who perhaps may or may not make the team.
What about recent signings, CG?
Okay, so we signed Jared Wilson, which is he's 28 years old, 6'1", 209, played first 5 years of Jacksonville, split last season with the Jets in the 49ers, 84 regular season games, 33 starts, played in 4 postseason games. He's a career 176 tackles, 12 tackles for loss, 3 interceptions, 9 passes, defended 1 sack. So he's a guy who's going to add some depth in the secondary.
And the Giants released Jaron Williams, but he reverted back to, what was it, the injury IR, right?
Yep, hamstring injury. Yep.
So
those are big injuries.
The Giants also had Devontae Booker in for a free agent workout as well, which is a little surprising. Murph was a little taken back by that, but
well,
Murph,
it makes sense.
Would you like to talk about your O-line now, Murph?
Well, actually, I kind of want to go back to our previous conversation.
Oh, jeez. Go ahead, Murph.
The linebacker position. It was interesting to hear that we were in on Quan Alexander.
Yes.
They're obviously looking for some help there. I don't know too much about Quan. He's not really a coverage guy though. From what I believe, he's a downhill blitzing type.
Yeah, he's a tackling machine. But...
So that's kind of interesting because they're looking to add more of the same. But yeah, just wanted to kind of point that out. Saints, Jets, and Giants, I believe, said he was talking to. So it's interesting to see that they're talking to a higher level profile free agent still at the inside linebacker position, even though that they have a lot of guys that are downhill thumpers already. That's my opinion. But yeah.
I think he signed with the Jets too, if I remember correctly.
Yep. He did. Yeah. One reason why he said is because he wants to reunite with Saleh, whom he played with in San Fran. So.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Murphy, your line. Go ahead.
No, I mean, we still talk about all these question marks, but I mean, obviously, as we can tell over the last week, guard and center are absolutely nowhere close to being locked up. And to be honest with you, I don't even know what the battle is.
I can tell you one thing. I don't want Jameel Douglas. Get rid of him.
I'm sorry?
Get rid of Jameel Douglas. He's horrible. Get him off.
It's funny you say that because I did watch. I usually every night when I'm laying on the couch, I'll go through the YouTube at night and just see whatever they posted. And Jameel was getting wrecked in every single video. Obviously, he didn't impress, and they put Brett in there today. But honestly, guys, it's like a 6-way battle for 2 positions. Never seen anything like that problem in New York, at least in the last 10 years. But I'm still very wary of that position. I still think Feliciano is a bum, and I still don't think we have a center. But yeah, how y'all feeling about that?
Well, we told you last week here on the Giants report what the Giants should do. So.
I'm concerned.
It's just like that.
Oh, what is that? Oh, that's good.
I just said that Shane Lemieux should start at center, and then Coach Dave will put him in at center the next day.
Nostradamus.
Look, is there any coincidence that I look like Brian Dable and Brian Dable did exactly what I predicted?
It's very true.
Oh, he did.
Very true. But I like it, man. Shane's a headhunter. He's a fucking dude that wants to tear your head off. That was literally the first thing I saw when we drafted Shane, when I went to go watch his highlights, was the man wants to fucking hit someone. So if you want to plug him in at center, I think it's great. I think it's an awesome idea, honestly.
Personally, I think that we should probably continue to keep him there.
Dude, fucking leave him there. I'm totally 100% on board with Shane Lemieux as center 1.
Feliciano, I'm with you, Murph. I don't know if he's good. I don't even know if he's average.
I haven't seen him play. I have no idea.
All right, so CG, as of right now, my starting line would be Andrew
Thomas. I'd say Thomas
at left. I would go with Izudu at left guard.
Yeah, I would too.
Lemieux at center.
Mm-hmm.
Lewinsky at right guard. Evan Neal at right tackle. That's my starting offensive line as of right now. Thoughts?
Great. That's exactly what I would say. I mean, that right now, looking at how they've played so far, and Obviously, it's only about a week. I'd say that's probably would be your best line right now. I mean, Lemieux has had the best camp of offensive linemen. I know Evan Neal's had some struggles to this point, but that's normal. He's adjusting, he's doing some different techniques. So right now, I think that line is right on, unless something changes.
I don't know what Taj or TJ's percent trying to say. Who's G's? Feliciano will be back because G's won't be ready. Feliciano couldn't make it on the field in Buffalo, man, and they didn't necessarily have a great O-line per se the entire time that they've had this nice run going on. He's an extra. He always was. He was a guy that knows the scheme. Joe Shane's familiar with him. He's a New Jersey native. He's probably the shoe-in to be the center one, but dude, he came to camp out of shape. It's very obvious. Very obvious. They just don't want to say it. He said Josh is it.
He's got to get on the field.
What's wrong with Josh? Oh, he's just saying getting up to speed. But yeah, I mean, dude, he came to they're literally saying in a very nice way, he didn't come to camp on in shape. The man has hydration issues. Come on. He's out of shape, dude.
I don't know about that. It was pretty hot here, and especially in training camp. Dehydration issues.
That was 3 days ago, bro. Come on. This is the NFL.
It happens. Apparently, from what I heard from people that have been severely dehydrated, it can linger. So, matter of fact, TJ is the coach here. TJ, what about hydration issues? How long can they last? Chime in. So, also, if you're going to read a comment, Murph, read the comment. Don't just answer it. Oh, okay. Josh was here, though.
I'm sorry. He said TJ got sick, or he said Feliciano got sick, flu or bug. Okay, well, in that case, fair.
Huh.
I still don't want him to start.
The whole time they were saying it was dehydration, no?
I think I did see something about him being sick, but the first thing was hydration when he was originally ruled out.
Yeah, well, the flu or bug too, that could also dehydrate you as well. So
sure. Great. I hope Feliciano feels better, but he's not. He's just a guy. He's another guy.
Let me ask you guys a question. Totally different subject. Saquon Barkley's had a really good camp so far. What do you guys think? What do you expect from him this season? I mean, do you think he's going to have an explosive season? Do you think it's just premature to think that, or what's your thoughts on that?
B.
Premature.
Everything's premature. We're talking about the 6th day of practice.
Okay.
I mean, I know people want to, prognosticate what Daniel Jones' stats are going to be, what Saquon Barkley's stats are going to be. Honestly, I don't give a shit. I just want to make sure they make it to week 1. If they're not healthy by week 1, if they don't stay healthy, it doesn't matter what we prognosticate or project them to have. I mean, sure, okay, Saquon could have 4,000 all total yards. I don't care. And the other thing is, too, is I think the bigger question associated with Saquon is if Saquon does go off, if he ends up having a really good year, let's say that he has close to 2,500 all-purpose yards, all right? Are you re-signing him?
So stop right there, Mitch, because that's kind of where my piece goes with this.
Well, it was a question, so, I mean.
But what's the plan here?
How it works.
What's the plan with Saquon? Just like you said.
I don't think they can afford him. Let's be honest. I mean,
I think the Giants want to re-sign Saquon.
I think they want to, but I don't think they can, unless he gives a very team-friendly deal. I don't think they can re-sign him. I mean,
so let's play scenario. You're GM. You want to keep Saquon, and it's preseason right now. In your head, you're like, in a perfect world, I'd like to keep Saquon. Are you going to limit him this year and try to get him at a fair price, or you going to let the man go ape shit in your offense and pay him the fucking biggest deal in your offense?
That's such a dumb question. They're not limiting him, Murph.
They're not limiting him.
Well, honestly, Maish, this is going to go to my point that I was going to ask next. I mentioned this earlier to our boys. I think Saquon's going to catch 85, 90 balls this year again. I really fucking do. Personally,
he probably will.
I think he's going to catch that. But some of the guys made the comment. I think, Tap's gone now, but I think Tap was one of them. Breed is fast as shit, and he's a reception guy. So are they going to give some receptions to him and kind of dial Saquon back a little bit and kind of keep him fresh? Because you're knowing that you're re-signing him, you're knowing he's an investment. You know, you're gonna kind of keep those legs fresh, knowing you're not a Super Bowl contender. It's interesting.
So I will tell you this: they're not going to scale him back over a contract. They're not going to say, you know what, let's try to get him under 1,000 yards rushing this year.
No, I'm not saying from a stat. I'm saying it's not scale from a stat wise. Not like be like, yo, he's not going to get these yards because we don't want to pay him. I'm saying like from a workload standpoint, Mage.
I will give you a perfect scenario. So look at what look at what Buffalo did last year between Zach Moss and Devin Singletary. It was almost a two-headed monster. There's no reason why they won't do that. Matter of fact, I wouldn't even be surprised to see both of them on the field in a two-back set at times. They're going to do again, today, something that we didn't touch on in practice. Kadarius Toney out of a Wildcat with Wan'Dale Robinson in the backfield. They're going to do whatever they can to try to put a good product on the field this year, increase the offensive production, and hopefully that'll lead to wins. So in terms of Saquon, I don't think they're doing anything different with Saquon. I think since he's a great receiver, you might see him a little bit more in pass catching scenarios. But I don't think they're scaling back. I think that Saquon has a good year. I'm not ready to put a number on it. But then it's going to come down to how much does he want to be in New York, and then how much are other teams willing to pay him? CG?
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree 100%. I mean, I look at the Giants, the offense, the way it's constructed right now. There's so many different weapons. You brought up Toney. You got Wan'Dale Robinson. You got Breida, and you got Saquon. And that's not even counting the other options they have. So, I mean, this isn't just going to be a Saquon-centric offense. I mean, Saquon is going to get a share, obviously, but I actually think we're going to see a lot of Matt Breida. I think he's going to have a lot of touches. I think there's going to be a lot of Wildcat. I mean, I know last Friday and today they were working with the Wildcat with Toney. So I think we're going to see a lot of different things. And I still think Saquon will have a good season, but I don't think it's going to be like in previous years where the offensive, the rushing game was centric on Saquon. I think we're going to see a lot of different things.
You're on mute, Mage.
I got to get used to that. All right, so let's stay there then. So we're talking about overpriced offensive toys. What's going on with Kenny Golladay? You guys worried?
Very quiet. I mean, I'm not saying he's done bad. He hasn't done bad in camp, but he's had a couple of drops. He had an interview today where he said he liked the Dable offense where there's more creativity for the wide receivers. So, I mean, it sounds like he's content with this new scheme, but I just haven't seen – I don't know how he fits. I mean, I feel like – and maybe I'm wrong. You guys can correct me, but throughout this camp, it's been more Toney. It's been more even Slayton, Slayton going over the top. There's been Wan'Dale. I mean, even some Richie James. We really haven't been hearing much of Golladay, and he's our number one wide receiver apparently, or supposedly. So, that's concerning to me, especially after last season where he struggled. So, I mean, last year.
Let me ask you this then, CJ.
Yeah.
Is there a place for him in this offense? You bring up Kadarius Toney, you bring up Wan'Dale Robinson, you bring up Darius Slayton, you talk about the speed. You allude to the speed on this offense. Is there a place for Kenny Golladay in this offense?
Well, I mean, he inked a 4-year, $72 million contract. So that's obviously that's a big financial burden. But even beyond that, last season, 37 catches for 521 yards. That's not what your number one wide receiver. And he had no touchdowns. That's not what you want. And he came from Detroit.
Everybody looked pretty anemic in that offense last year. Though. I don't think we can chalk it up.
No, the offense was horrible last year, but I get the sense at this point, and I could be totally wrong. I don't feel like he fits, and maybe I'm wrong, and maybe we're just not seeing it yet. but I feel like this offense is not. You think about the KC offense. It was more of a Tyreek Hill, Nicole Hardeman type of offense. It's you don't see like a Kenny. I don't know. I just feel like this offense he doesn't fit, and maybe there is a place for him. Maybe we just haven't seen it yet. But to this point, I just don't feel like he's a good fit.
Murph.
I kind of.
So I got a question for you.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you. Can you let me drive the show? Appreciate it. Whoa, we're live. Hello, there are children watching. All right, sorry about that, kids. So CG alluded to the Kansas City offense, which is obviously predicated on speed. KC lost Tyreek Hill. They went out and they signed Juju Smith-Schuster. Juju spent a majority of his time in the slot as a receiver with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Do you see that as a fit here for Kenny Golladay?
I'm kind of torn because, I'm a big KG guy, but I mean, CG's onto something here. Does he really fit? Obviously, I've been saying that I think KG's going to come out of the slot a good bit this year. But going back to the Kansas City offense, I mean, you're looking for a guy to kind of compare him to, and obviously, I know you're talking Juju and playing in the slot, but it's probably, in my opinion, more like Travis Kelce. Quick flats, quick outs in the slot. He's always operating in the slot. I don't think KG's going to really be ever a big-time playmaker for us. I don't think that's ever really what he was really signed to be. I mean, why is KG any different than DJ? Go do what you're doing with DJ. Put his strengths out there. Figure out what he does good and use it to his ability. I mean, he's a jump ball red zone guy over the middle. That's really all he's good for, right? Especially in this scheme. Like, he doesn't have any speed. He can't separate. So, in my opinion, I think he's going to be just fine over the middle. He's just not going to catch it over the shoulder down the sidelines and take it 50 yards to the house. He's just not going to do that. He's going to make his money 10 yards in the flat, 5 yards in the flat, 10 yards, 15 yards over the middle. But he's just going to probably, in my opinion, be more of an oversized tight end. And Bellinger's going to be blocking. So I'm with you. I don't know what his role is, but I do think he's valuable, and you got to make him valuable, right? You're paying him. You have to.
At least for this year, yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see why he can't play over the middle. Is Travis Kelce really a tight end?
I think he is.
I think he can be, but do they really use him as a traditional tight end?
No, they don't. But the same could be said for Mark Andrews as well.
Yeah.
But the thing is, in terms of their skill set, yeah, they're definitely a traditional tight end, right? Because if they don't have the ability to go downfield, to gain that separation, what those tight ends are looking for is they're looking for holes in the defense.
Right.
Once they find the hole in the defense, Kelsey's perfect at doing this. Find a hole in the defense and sit. That's it. Mahomes finds them, right? So a lot of times they have one-on-one matchups with, which is probably mostly linebackers or slot corners. So when you have a guy like Kelce, he can probably outrun most linebackers and overmatch most slot corners.
Yeah, but
so so to your point,
he kind of could do the same. I mean, he doesn't have to do too much. He really be a safety valve now. I mean, fans are going to want him to put up 10 TDs with that contract, but it's not happening.
But again, Murph, I agree with you, and that's why I led with the slot conversation, because you said that for a while. You want to see Kenny Golladay in the slot. Do I still think he has ability downfield for those contested catches, especially with Daniel Jones' deep ball accuracy? Yeah, I do. I do think there's a spot for him still on the outside. But I do agree. I think he should spend at least 50%, if not more, of his time in the slot. Because with his frame, with his ability to make contested catches, with Danny having that check down ability over the middle of field or looking for Kenny Golladay short, it allows him to move to chains. Let guys like, Wando Robinson run those drag routes underneath so that this way they could get the yards after they catch. Let Kadarius Toney spread the field, right, with those deep in routes or deep post routes. Let him run those. So I like the idea of what you said, putting Kenny Galladay in the slot. The problem is $72 million a lot for a slot receiver.
Yeah. Health too. I mean, if he's running over the middle, you know how fragile he is. I mean, takes one hit. I mean, we saw in the New Orleans game last year, he was kind of operating a little bit in the slot, and he did pretty well, but I just worry about his health. And, beyond that point, I mean, if the fans, how the fans are, if he doesn't start putting up some numbers, we even saw it in training camp the other day where someone yelled from the stands when he dropped the ball, oh, blah, 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 you're 70-something million and you had no touchdowns. That's New York. New York, they're a tough group of people, and you got to perform. So, I mean, I'm interested to see how he's integrated into the offense, but I'm a little worried about how he's actually going to fit. So we'll see.
Hey, you know what they say? You can make it here, you can make it anywhere.
True. Very true.
All right. I think that's pretty much all that we have. Time for any closing remarks.
I think we're moving forward. I hope that we continue to have no injuries, no major injuries, and I'm looking forward to the game on Thursday night, some NFL football, and the Giants next week. I think we'll have some answers maybe by at least seeing them against some real competition.
Murph?
This time next week will be one more week closer to football.
We will. So Giants open up next week, I believe, at New England. So preseason game Thursday night.
I think it's on TV too.
I'm looking. What happened?
It's on TV. It's on NFL Network. So.
Oh well, here. Well, that's right. I forgot. Yeah.
I'm stuck in Wisconsin.
Yeah. See, I'm in the New York, New Jersey area, so I get them no matter what. You poor souls. Yeah. But I did put out a tweet today. So because there are a lot of fans panicking over practice, I just put out a tweet. I said, hey, does anybody know what the score is in today's practice? Just want to know if the Giants were winning. So we got to stop, guys. We got to come down off this ledge, man. It is a good thing. I hate to say it, but I do. I like Cop Pizzle. And Cop Pizzle put out a video today. It's called Iron Sharpens Iron. Go watch it if you got a chance. It's not a long video. It's 8 minutes. Typical Pizzle fashion. But he makes a lot of great points. He does. He says, what is everybody so concerned about? Daniel Jones threw a couple interceptions. If Daniel Jones was perfect through 6 practices, through 10 touchdowns, no interceptions or 1, everybody would be up in arms about this defense. Everybody would be concerned about our secondary. Everybody would be worried about Wink Martindale's system. But no, it's good some days for the defense to win their matchup versus the offense. And it's good that some days the offense wins their matchup versus the defense. Somebody else I pointed out today, I believe it was I forget who it was, but one of my boys, they said, hey, look, Daniel Jones in this offense is going against a Wink Martindale defense. Like, we should be impressed by the fact that Daniel Jones has looked as good as he has under the amount of pressure that Wink Martindale's defense sends. Daniel Jones' biggest flaw as a passer was versus pressure. Go and look at his stats with a clean pocket. I mean, I don't want to sit here and say they're great without having them in front of me, but if I remember, they're pretty damn good. It's when he's under pressure that he makes his biggest mistakes. The fact that he's looked as good as he has in camp with Wink Martindale sending the defense, that's a good thing, guys. It's a really good thing. Yes, okay, they can't sack Danny. If the sacks are unofficial in practice, maybe he might be holding the ball a little bit longer. Maybe this should have been a sack. They have referees there. They have people that are calling sacks. We got to stop. I mean, honestly, at this point, at this juncture, where we are with a new regime, Chris Mara being demoted, we need to start embracing the Giants again. And we got to put our narratives aside. It's fine. People have opinions. You want to be objective about it. That's cool. I'm a Daniel Jones supporter. Do I understand why people don't like him? Yes, I do. I get it. He is frustrating as a quarterback with some of the things that you see on him. And the fact that over the last 2 years, especially with Jason Garrett, he didn't show any development. All right, well, then we could blame that on Joe Judge and Jason Garrett, but then we're making excuses for him. Guys, it's fine, okay? This team is going to be okay. I think this is going to be the funnest year that we've probably seen in quite some time. It's just practice. RELAX. Relax. That's all I got to say about that.
Wow, that was deep.
That's
Thank
awesome.
you. I appreciate that, Murph.
Fuck all those people that are bitching. Go Giants.
That's good, man. I mean,
Giants.
I don't get it. I don't want to go off on another tangent here or anything, but that's it, man. I think that we have a lot to be encouraged by a lot of things that we saw. Again, we talked about the secondary CG, right? Adoree Jackson coming up with those interceptions. That's a good thing because this is a guy that typically doesn't get a lot of turnovers, right? He had an interception that was dropped, I believe, the first practice. I'm like, oh, man, that should have been a pick six, but you know what? That's Adoree. He doesn't do that. He doesn't pick up the ball or catch it when it's thrown his way. He doesn't get those turnovers. But that's okay. We'll live with it. No, he got 2 today. That's a good thing. It's a good thing as a Giants fan. Darnay Holmes stepping up. Darnay Holmes? I'm sorry. We were talking about Adoree Jackson. We were talking about Cordell Flott, Aaron Robinson. Darnay Holmes? 4 turnovers in what, 4 practices? That's a good thing, guys. Come on. Come back off the ledge here. We're with you. We'll be here for you.
No, I agree 100%. You know, we need to take a step back and embrace because I think this is going to be a good year. So let's go Giants.
Let's go Big Blue. And that's going to wrap up this episode of the Giants Report. I want to thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Everybody that's going to watch this, possibly afterhand, or catch us. Look, if you don't know, we're still a podcast. You can still catch us on Apple, iTunes. You can still catch us on Spotify. You can catch us on Google, whatever the Android stuff is. You can catch us everywhere that your podcast can be heard. This will also be a podcast. But make sure that you come back here. You hit the subscribe button. Like our videos. Hey, guys, we only moved over to the YouTube machine because we want to interact with you. We want to hear your opinions. We want you to come in the streams. We want to see the opinions. I don't care if it's a difference of opinion. We want to engage with you guys. That's what's so important about us wanting to move over to the YouTube. We're not gaining anything from this. It's mainly because we want to interact with you guys on a weekly basis. We want to hear from you guys. And thank you to TJ, who's tuned in 2 weeks in a row, our loyal supporters so far. Tab Jackson, thank you for joining us today. Panna, thank you for also joining us as well. We really do appreciate you guys. We hope to grow this channel. We're going to keep doing this weekly throughout the season. Just, again, thank you. Make sure that you like and subscribe and check us out everywhere that your podcasts are heard. Peace and love, everyone.